Hello and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, strategies, and insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today I'm very lucky to be joined by Allysen Kerr of Prymel Elements. How's it going, Allysen?
It's going great. How are you?
I am good. First of all, thank you so much for being here. And I'd really love to just start this off, Allison, by learning a little bit more about your background and a little bit more about Primal Elements.
Sure. I am really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. Prymel, we are a marketing and branding agency based in Tampa Bay. I've had the company for a couple years now. We launched in 2018 officially. And my goal when we launched was to create something that could provide holistic solutions to our clients. Most of the clients that we work with, they are entrepreneurs, they're nonprofits, but the biggest thing that makes me the most excited about them and is the work that they do in the community and the impact that they have beyond just their 9 to 5s and the money that they make, right? Many of them are very mission focused. They want to do things that not only help to impact the world around them, but also challenge the status quo a little bit. So we help them find a way to strategically do that. And whether it's through marketing, websites, branding, creating 360 experiences, doing events for them, we help them with whatever their vision is and help bring it to life.
Wow, that's really interesting. And so you started this a few years ago now? Wow. And you work with mission-driven brands across all industries. What do the most successful impact-focused brands have in common when it comes to building a lasting identity?
I think the most that they have in common is that they have a really great foundation. And I tell my clients when they start working with us, like that your foundation is everything. And when I say foundation, I'm alluding to their brand foundation, who they are not only as a company, but even as people, and making sure that all is in alignment. Because I really feel that like the most successful brands they understand who they are at their core and they understand where they're going, what their mission is, their vision. All of that is so in sync and everyone else understands it too. When it's just the leader that is able to rattle off the mission statement and vision, but no one else in the company understands it, that's not a great sign. You're doing something wrong. I find that whether it's an entrepreneur who has multiple brands or a nonprofit or an emerging brand, it doesn't matter as long as they have a really solid brand foundation. It's really makes it a lot easier for us to build on top of that. And sometimes we come to them and they don't have that, and we have to help them rebuild it and create the foundation for the growth that they want to see. And I think the other thing that makes them really successful for the brands that have been successful, what they all also have in common, is that their leadership is open to progress and to change, and they want to be forward thinking. They're not just stuck in what happened or what worked 5 or 10 years ago. They understand that in order for them to grow, that means they have to evolve, and they're also willing to do that as leaders. So I think that's those two things, having a really strong brand foundation and having leadership that is willing to evolve, makes the companies that we work with really successful.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you said that. And brand is becoming this, it's becoming, it's always been important, I think. And I think just more and more people are realizing it because I think back in the day, you're thinking 70s, 80s, really the only big companies were playing the brand game, your Coca-Colas and those types of companies. And the smaller companies didn't really care. It was this transactional thing. And I think now more people are realizing the value of having a brand that people will literally come to you just because of your brand, even though you're more expensive than somebody else. Or so do you feel that more and more people have already crossed that bridge? You're not having to do that explanation of, hey, you need a brand. You need to do this. So that conversation's already there.
I do feel like a lot more clients come to us with the understanding that they don't have one. They know they need one, but they understand now that they don't have one, which is really great. It makes it a little bit easier. But the conversation is trickling down to even the smaller brands even more because they realize that for them to get like the Starbucks of the world or the Coca-Colas of the world, that they have to really put that solid brand foundation in place. And so they come to companies like ours, firms like ours, to help them to write that story and help them to make sure that they've got everything in place to make that happen. So you're absolutely right. It is something that at one point, many of the larger brands were focused on, but they started out small too. Like a lot of these brands that we know and love today, they started in somebody's garage, somebody's kitchen. They just had a little bit more time than the rest of us to get to where they are now. But there isn't so much gatekeeping happening nowadays. We live in a world where information is literally ready at your fingertips. So you can go on Google, TikTok, if you wish, if that's your choice of search engine, and find information. And a lot of people are willing to share now. So I do get clients that come to me that are a little bit more knowledgeable about the process and what this needs to look like. What they don't know all the time is how to get them there. And that's what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's why having an agency like yours is so important because branding is one of those things where it's so ethereal, right? So that it's hard when you're in it every day to know what your brand is or know the direction of your brand. And sometimes it really takes that outside agency like yours that knows what it's doing to be like, hey, we're going to go interview your customers. We're going to interview the people that work for you, and we're going to tell you what your brand is and how to get it to where you want to go. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so do you think that brand I know it's this changing thing, but do you think the brand of a company that has maybe 50 employees is going to be wildly different than the brand of a company that has maybe 200 to 500 employees? Does that brand change? And if so, how?
That's an interesting question. I think that every brand is going to be unique based on what service they're offering and what solutions they want to provide to the world. Even if you got a couple different companies that provide toilet paper, okay, great. What makes them unique is their process, how they go about producing that toilet paper, and also the story that they tell of how they got there. To answer your question, whether I think a company with 50 versus 200 employees are going to be different. I think they can be, but it also just depends on who they are at their core at the end of the
Yeah.
day. I think a lot of companies are sometimes afraid
Mhm.
to grow to that 200 number
Yeah.
because they're afraid they're going to lose their identity along the way. And that definitely can happen. But I think if you do the work, if you've done the work of putting together a solid brand foundation from the beginning, then you don't have to be afraid to get to that next level of growth for the company and be concerned that you're going to lose your identity or the brand culture along the way. It does get harder sometimes when you do get to those larger company sizes, those employee teams to maintain that. But there's so many companies that do it well. And a lot of it is because they've done a really effective job of creating a culture that is scalable and doesn't matter what environment it is, like whether you have companies you're working with remotely or team members that you're working with domestically, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, who the company is at their core remains the same.
Right. And so I know that you guys offer not just branding and marketing, but also event services. How do you use events to elevate brand experience and create emotional resonance with audiences?
Oh my goodness. So that's probably out of all the things that we do, probably my favorite
Mhm.
world to play in because one, I'm a multi-hyphenate creative. So I like to have my hands in different things. But when we get to the event space, that's where all of our worlds get to converge and we get to tell these really great stories about these brands and the work that they're doing. Some of it is strategically thinking about where the company wants to go, whether it's a for-profit or nonprofit organization. What are they ultimately trying to do? What's the goal? And when we have defined those outcomes, then we can work backwards from there and say, okay, this is the type of experience then that we need to create that will resonate with this audience. We look at the audience that they want to work with or the group that they want to impact and say, okay, based on what we've seen, this could be a really great way to make that happen. And we try to do everything so that it actually is also in alignment with that personal brand or even that the organization, right? Because if you just come up with an event and it doesn't really track, it's almost like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It doesn't work. Like you can't do that. We try to make sure that all the experiences that we create are something that at the end of the day are going to do three things. They're going to create, they're going to amaze, and they're going to elevate. If they don't do those three things at the end of the day, then we haven't done our job as well. And that's really important to me to make sure that people come into any space that we create that we develop for a client and say, we want it to be the most creative it can possibly be,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. And that's based on their budget a lot of times. So we got to work
Yeah.
within that too. But then we also want people to be amazed. So we want them to walk in and be like, wow, like this is phenomenal. But then the last tier of that is for them to be elevated and not just elevated walking out with a high from the event, but that they had a great time, but elevated mentally, elevated spiritually. They've felt like they've been taken to another level in their thinking, and that now that they have some motivation to do something different. Again, it goes a little bit deeper than just creating an in-person experience for people to just come and hang out at. It has to do those three things for me. If I can't check those boxes, then like I said, I haven't done my job.
Yeah. I love that you think that way. I know that having to hit those three things isn't easy. The fact that you guys do, like, that's your focus says so much about your agency. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been awesome, Alison. Where can people learn more about you and where can people learn more about your agency?
Absolutely. As far as my agency is concerned, they can follow us on anything that says Go Primal. So our all of our social is Go Primal, and then our company website is primalelements.com.
Hmm.
And for me, it's just my first and last name.com. So AllysenKerr.com is where you'll find more information about me, and my all of my socials are on there as well. You can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Those are the worlds I play in. So come hang out with me there. But yeah, that's where you can find out more about what we're doing.
Awesome. Sounds good. And if you guys want to check out Primal Elements website, it's an awesome website. But anyway, thank you again for being on, Alison.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much, Eve.